Okay, one of the things that I like to use for my dog is this antiseptic. It's got to say antiseptic ear cleaner and the Zymox ear solutions. This is about $30 for the bottle, and this is about $6 for the bottle, and I'll explain why in a second. So when I got my page, she's an American Bulldog. She was the runt of the litter, but I think she was only like 72 pounds when I got her. She was about an average female size. And I noticed that her belly was broke out a lot, and she had a cauliflower ear. And the lady had told me that the reason she had a cauliflower ear is because she got an infection of some kind and it went away on its own. And then I seen how brownish red her belly was, and it almost looked very, very, very irritated, like it was very uncomfortable to her. And she said, I spray this spray on her every night before she goes to bed and in the morning, and it seems to help out. And I'm thinking to myself, how long have you been doing this? And I actually asked her, has this been an extended amount of time that this has been going on? And she said, yeah, I've been doing this for about 3 months. Hello, if it hasn't changed in 3 months, that's probably not helping her, and it's not soothing her. And then, we went to looking at her play and how she was going to fit in, and she did phenomenal. She ran around the property like it was going out of style. She was really into what she just being there and out in the country and chasing sticks, and she would run up to me and rub her head all over me, and we were a good fit. You can tell right away that she just felt something more comfortable with me than she did anybody else, because this lady really did care about her. She would take her and she would pull her out to different homes that were interested in her, and she put up a price on the internet saying, I want $100 for this dog. I'm not going to give her away for free. She was really an expensive dog to me, and I can't just give her away. And the reason she did that is because she wanted somebody that was going to actually invest something in her dog, not just want a free dog so they could go fight the dog or something like that. So she said, I'm not going to charge you anything. I don't want to charge you anything. She seems like she's really happy here with you. And next week, we want to keep her for one more week, and then we'll bring her by and drop her off and bring all her belongings and stuff. We just wanted to make sure she was a good fit first. Well, the following week she came by and she was dropping all her toys and stuff off, and her leash and her collar and all that, her medical records. And when she dropped everything off, I noticed the food that she had and it was like a big charcoal container that you store charcoal in, and you take it to tailgating events and stuff like that. Not a big deal. It's actually a very good dog food storage container. And she pulled it out, and I said, is this that gravy train dog food? And she said, yeah, it is. Why? And I said, nothing. I just wanted to make sure that that's what this is. What I was thinking about the whole entire time is this is what's causing her reaction. This is why her ear cauliflowered up and drew back like that after the blood kind of receded. It's because of the grains, the sugars and stuff that's in her food. And bully breeds especially don't deal very well with that. Boxers, pit bulls, things of that nature, they really need a good quality food. And if you don't feed them a good quality food, darker colored dogs, you might not pick it up right away, but they don't do very well on grain-fed food. And she's like almost a pure white dog, so she's really receptive because of her genes and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of pure white dogs of many breeds not do well with grain-fed food. So, I said my goodbyes to her and stuff like that, and I said, look, I really appreciate you bringing her to me and letting me adopt her. I'm going to actually have her trained as a service dog, because at the time she was only 1.5 2 years old, and I said she's going to be well taken care of. You have no idea. And she has been. She's been trained as a service dog. She wakes me up whenever I have my nightmares and stuff like that. I took her to a private guy out in Lombard, Illinois, that put her in a training center to get her trained, and I spent a lot of money on her. But through the process of doing that, I figured out the ins and outs of the bully breed to a point where I didn't really understand it before. I've had bully breed dogs, and I've picked up some of the nuances and stuff with them, but I never understood exactly like I understand now. And bully breed dogs are the only ones that have an articulating spine. They're the only ones that can actually wag themselves back in an S shape. Other dogs can't do that. They don't have a spine that can articulate like that. That's what makes them so unique. That's what makes them good fighting dogs, because they can spin around on themselves and they can bite something that's right behind them almost immediately because of the way their spine interworks. Boxers, pit bulls, American bulldogs, bull terriers, anything like that, they can move their spine like that. If you notice, you know, when you come home and your boxer's right there, they kind of do this hopping S-shaped thing or whatever because they're really happy to see you. You know, that's, you know, mama's boy or daddy's boy or something like that, or girl. They wag like that because they're the only dog that can do that, and that's just built into their breed. That's what makes them real good at sporting and hunting and stuff, because of how agile they are. A lot of people think that a bully breed dog has an extremely hard bite, but that's not true. Their jawline is actually very small, which makes the leverage point, and when the muscles contract, not be able to bite down on stuff as much. The reason a bully breed dog is so dangerous when it comes to biting is because they have the lockjaw, lactic acid buildup, where it locks the muscle in place and it won't release it. But if you go to the dollar store, and you got to be careful when you do this, say your dog does get a hold of another dog and you can't get their jaw off. Dogs naturally have that instinct to jerk back and forth whenever they bite something. They tear. And a lot of people see that bully breed dogs do this more than others. The reason that they're doing that is because they lock on and they can't release, even if they want to release sometimes, and they jerk back and forth, and they're trying to get this thing out of their mouth. It's not necessarily trying to tear it. They want the thing out of their mouth so they can come back and get another bite if they're really that mad. Now, you know, some people say, how true is that though? How come they can take security dogs and military dogs and stuff like that are bully breed dogs, and they can make them release on command? And some people have answered that with the bite is different. Once it's a completely trained security dog, they know when they bite, but they're not biting down to lock the jaw in like a regular dog that hasn't been trained. I don't know how true that is, but what I've found with my dog is no grain foods. Like, I'm even talking some of the best no grain foods, $60, $70, $80 a bag, feed store, fresh food that's made locally or something like that, sometimes doesn't even agree with my dog. But taking her off grain did clear up her belly. The brown discoloration went away, the ear infections went away, and it did help. But they would come back from time to time, and I could never understand why. I removed all the grain from her diet, but yet sometimes the stuff would come back. The answer to that is even the cleanest dog food was doing a number on her. There are some things that she's so sensitive to, even in the most organic, holistic form dog food with no grain, that I could not feed her. So about 5 months ago, I switched her to an all-raw diet where she has plenty of shells and bones and red meat and organs, and she's just a very, very happy dog. I salt her food and stuff like that, so she's getting plenty of salt. I take a homemade bone broth that has plenty of salt in it, and I'll put it in the bottom of her bowl, and she just loves sopping it up. She's getting plenty of nutrient density now with no grains at all, no filler products at all, no nothing at all. And I don't know how much we can actually trust the food that says, you know, it's no grain, no fillers, no nothing. I mean, I know that's kind of being a little too worrisome, but this is my baby girl, you know. I can't, if I remove something from her diet and it says it's no grain, no fillers, no nothing, obviously something in there is the problem. Now that I've switched her to an all-raw diet, it's completely went away. But I do notice, because of bully breed dog ears, they flop down. If they have somewhat of a gap that air can pass through, normally they're fine. One of her ears has a little flop where air can get through there, and it's not all the way up tight against her head, so she doesn't have a problem. The other ear that's cauliflowered, it's kind of cauliflowered and crunched up, and the little flap that does flap over, it comes down and almost seals completely, and it creates this greenhouse effect inside her ear. So as her ear tries to drain, and you would think that the air that should get in there and help dry all that out and just keep everything balanced or whatever, so she can get some airflow in there, it's not getting in there, and it multiplies the effect of the wax and stuff that builds up. So about once a week, I will take an antiseptic drop that I've showed you in the beginning of this video, and I will take Zymox only if the wax is excessive. Sometimes I won't even use the medicated Zymox. I'll just use the antiseptic ear wash. And I'll take a Q-tip, and I don't get down deep into her ear, but I just clean the parts where I can see without digging down inside. And I'll take a couple Q-tips, and I'll clean anything out that I see in the little creases and stuff like that, and I do a real good job of cleaning it. Don't putting nothing down inside the hole. And then I'll put just enough of those antiseptic drops to actually see some fluid build up down there, and then I'll just gently rub her ear for 15 to 20 seconds down at the base. Not on the floppy part, but down at the base. And I'll rub it around and rub it around and rub it around, and she lays her head over on my knee and she lets me do it. And then when she's done and she shakes her head, then I'll take just a regular cotton swab and I'll wipe out the inside. Sometimes I'll use the second one just to make sure I really get it clean. And it keeps her ears clean, debris free. If you see your dog shaking its head all the time, especially if it's been laying down and it gets up and it starts shaking, and then it's shaking it again and it's shaking again and shaking again, they've got some kind of ear problem going on. You need to clean it out with some kind of antiseptic wash, and maybe even go to the pet store and get a $30 bottle of medicated Zymox, because that Zymox is pretty good stuff, and it's the only medicated one that I've seen on the shelf at Petco and stuff like that that I actually trust. So that's my video about my dog's care, my ear care for my bully breeds, and what I feed my dog, and a little bit about the breed themselves. Bully breeds, a lot of them, dogs in general, but bully breeds especially, don't like you messing with their feet. So I've learned to take special care with my dog, and she would not let a vet touch her at all. She would almost go into convulsions whenever she was around a vet. And the vet said, well, I can put her, just to sleep. I can put her down just a little bit, just knock her out, and then get all her nail stuff done, and then give her back to you if that's what you want. But it's going to cost you like another $60. And I said, no. Let's just see what we can do. Let's see how she'll work with you. And they got her back there. She would not want them. She did not want them touching her. She didn't want them doing anything. She wanted nobody touching her feet at all. Dogs do not like their feet getting touched in general. You have to work with them from when they're a puppy. And they put her in a dog wash station, and they thought, well, maybe we can wash her, like stick her foot out the bottom where there's a little opening and she can't reach back to bite at us and stuff like that. And they tried, and she did not want that. She got so scared and she started shaking so much it looked like she was going to pass out, because she kept closing her eyes, and her eyes were staying closed, and she actually defecated on herself. She crapped on herself. And the vet was like, at this point, she's so stressed out, when they go to the bathroom on themselves, you should not continue, because you're just making the situation way worse, and you may make her resent ever going to the vet. And I said, I agree with you. So what I did was I took her home, and I'd sit down and watch a movie, and I'd grab her feet. And she didn't like it at first. She would look at me like, dude, stop touching me. And I'd grab her feet, and I'd grab her feet, and grab her feet, and I did this for months. And then finally, until 3 months, 2.5, 3 months later, I could grab her foot and hold it and pick it up and look at her paws and stuff, where she wasn't fighting me at all. And then what I did was I got a pair of little clippers and one of them little dog nail grinders, and I would sit the dog nail grinder right next to her on the couch, and I'd let it touch her. But at first when I touched her, she'd jolt like, oh my God, what is that? And it would scare her at first. And about a couple weeks of doing that, she finally got used to that thing touching her. And then I would turn it on and let it vibrate, with the grinding wheel moving. And then at first it scared her. A couple weeks later, no problem at all. She started being really receptive to it. Then I would get the dog nail clippers, and I'd put her paw in my hand, and I would lay them on top of her paw. She didn't like that. It took a couple weeks. Finally, she got used to it. Needless to say, over the years of having her, she's now completely okay with me and me only trimming her nails. Nobody can touch her nails. She will freak out. She laid on the bed yesterday, and she let me cut her nails back all the way to the quick. She let me take the grinder and clean them up and just give them a nice shape, so they weren't rigid. Or if she went to go, if I asked her to give me paw or something like that, her nail wouldn't scratch me. Or if she's playing with her toys or just whatever it would be, I just cleaned the nails up around the edges and stuff like that, so they're real nice and pretty, and they don't touch the floor. They're not tapping on the floor all the time. Every once in a while, if you notice the two toes in the middle, you can get them perfect, but the toes on the side, they sit down a little lower. They sit kind of like this. And those two toes on the side, they're always the closest to the ground. But it's really hard to get them all the way back as far as you can, because you can really cut into the quick deep to get them pulled back all the way. And that you get some excessive bleeding, and you got to have some quick stop or something like that, the blood clot to stop the blood. But I cut them back at just until they're barely touching. The only time I can hear her tapping on the ground and stuff now is whenever she goes to grab a toy and she's really putting a lot of pressure on her paws. So it's fine. They're cut back, they're nice and clean and stuff like that. And I've had some problems in the past. People have seen her in my videos or something and said, man, her nails are kind of long. I said, well, she's a dual purpose dog. First of all, she's a service dog. Second of all, she's a dog that I got to be really careful whenever I go to cut her nails and stuff like that. I need to make sure it's worth doing, because even now sometimes she'll look at me like, do we have to really do this? And she'll jerk her feet a little bit at times, but she lets me finish the job. I'm not here to tell her, you're going to do exactly what I want you to do or whatever. I give her an option sometimes. I'll do a foot and I'll leave it alone. I'll do another foot, I'll leave it alone. I know it's very uncomfortable to dogs in general. You can't take that completely out of them. Sometimes they just get trained so well they don't ever fight back. But dogs in general don't like you messing with their feet, because that's part of their biggest defense mechanism. They have to be able to maneuver and get around and run from things and jump on things and things like that. That's why they don't like you touching their feet. Anyhow, that's all about my dog. Thank you guys.